Desde a minha infância,
From childhood, I have always struggled with feelings of rejection. I did not feel loved by my mother. I couldn't play with other children, and I isolated myself a lot. As time passed, this feeling only worsened inside me. I stopped going to school because of this. I was insecure about everything I did. I couldn't understand why I was like that. It was very difficult for me to maintain relationships because I had such hatred, such resentment, such sadness inside me that nothing could fulfill me. However, as the years passed, I overcame my problems regardless. I reached the point of getting married and having a daughter. Our relationship had started very badly because I had always been a difficult person. Because of my baggage, I had always suffered in my marriage, in my relationship. This was due to all I had brought from my childhood: the insecurity, the fear, the sadness. One day, whilst watching TV, I saw some news that caught my attention. It was about the Universal Church. This was a church that I hated. I really hated it. I sincerely believed that all that happened inside the church was a charade. That people were bought and innocent people were being deceived. I thought that this was not God and that Bishop Macedo was deceiving people. I believed that he deceived people and that this was a cult. This was what I believed, and no one could have convinced me otherwise. I had this prejudice, and it was so strong that I would cross the road any time I passed in front of a universal church. I did not want to walk on the pavement in front of this church. I remember when my mother became very sick, having not slept for 38 hours as a result of Alzheimer's. At that time, I had taken her to many places, and she was even admitted to hospital. The doctor then called me in the morning to say, "Come to get your mother because nothing can make her sleep." We had given her 2 injections that, scientifically speaking, should make her sleep, but she hasn't. I then went to get her from the hospital. When we arrived home, with my mother sleep deprived for 38 hours, my husband said, "I know a place where you can take your mother, and I'm sure that she will be all right." He then said, "The Universal Church." I responded, "I don't go near that church. The church of crooks. The church of thieves. The church where the bishop deceives everyone. He created an empire at the expense of people who were not aware of this. I won't go there." My husband simply asked, "Not even out of love for your mother?" I stopped, thought, and replied, "Out of my love for her, I will go." However, I devised a plan. I attended the service, but I must confess that I did not take in anything, because my hate and my anger at being there were greater. When the meeting ended, my husband accompanied my mother and me to talk to the pastor. The first thing I said, "I am here today, but I don't like this place. There's another thing, Pastor. I speak badly about you. I call you crooks. I speak badly about Bishop Macedo. But I brought my mother here because she's gone 38 hours without sleeping." He replied, "Madam, be calm. We will help your mother and you as well. Despite what you believe, we are only here to help." I was speechless because I expected a different reaction from the pastor. I did not expect that response. Afterwards, the pastor made a prayer for my mother, and we went home. I confess that I went home feeling relieved, because when I entered the church, I felt heavily weighed down. My mother slept soundly the whole night after 38 hours of not sleeping. Therefore, I returned. I understood that the illness my mother had was in her body, whereas mine was in my soul, and that I needed help just as much as she did. I then started to surrender. I started to work on me to get rid of what I had inside. It was a process that I had to go through to be free of myself. I had to break free from all that I believed, from all that I felt, from all the guilt that I carried, from all the feelings of resentment and sadness that I carried within. I had to swap trust for belief. It has been a process where I discarded all the baggage, all the self, the guesswork, all the hatred, the resentment. It was a process which took some time, but it was worth it. In this school, in this university that the Universal Church is, I received my greatest treasure. It was during a Monday financial independence meeting. I remember the pastor saying, "You who have a contract to finalize, come up here to the altar." I remember having 3 contracts. I'm an estate agent, and I had to close those deals. I went up to the altar, but I went to close only 1 deal. When I got to the altar, I said to God, "Lord, the only contract I need is one with you, forever. I have 3 contracts to be signed, but the only one I need is with you for my entire life. It's the one with you." I received the Holy Spirit in that moment. It was the best moment of my life. Better than when I got married. Better than my wedding day. Better than the birth of my daughter. The best moment of my life was when I received the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is not a feeling. He is a certainty. The certainty of peace. The certainty of freedom. Because until then, I was a prisoner. He is our assurance of happiness. The assurance of peace. All of which can be emotion, but when you have the Holy Spirit, you have certainty. In that moment, I had the certainty that I was a vessel in which the Holy Spirit dwelt. That I was nothing, but that He dwelt in me from that moment on. I had been alone. Though I had a father, a mother, siblings, a husband, and a daughter, I had been alone. I was an orphan. Totally. Today, I have a father. Today, He has adopted me. Today, I live with Him. I am no longer alone. Sometimes we can think that we have a complete life. However, to be truly complete is only possible by having a life with God, only by having the Holy Spirit.